Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I am going to be giving you some ideas on how you can improve your holiday calendar in The Sims 4. I have done a couple of these type of videos on my channel in the past that include custom calendar ideas, mods, and just ideas to improve your gameplay in general. Today I wanted to do an updated version and not only show you some new holiday ideas that you could add onto your calendar, but also different formats and layout ideas that you could try out to change up your gameplay. And I also wanted to do this because I wanted to update you on some new mods that I now use for my calendar and what my calendars now look like. The ideas that I'm going to be showing you today are great for a variety of different gameplay styles, but particularly they're great for family gameplay as that is my main gameplay style, so my calendars are very much based on that type of gameplay. Before I show you the calendars, I do want to go through a few mods with you guys and recommend some to you that you could use on your calendar. These are all the mods that I use on my calendar at the moment and ones that I really recommend if you just want to be able to customize your calendars a lot more, but not too drastically. I haven't gone too over the top. I have changed my calendar style a bit. So before we get into the calendar showcasing, I want to quickly show these mods to you guys. All the mods will be linked in the description of today's video. So without further ado, I hope that you do enjoy today's video and let's get started. So starting off with the mods, I have 3 to show you. Let's begin with my calendar icons. I now use the Little Miss Sam More calendar icons. As I did mention, this will be linked in the description of the video. I've linked the Tumblr and from there you can download the icons on CurseForge. I use the main version of this mod, which includes 100 more calendar icons, but you can use a version that actually adds up to 2,000 plus icons, which is a crazy amount. That is a lot of icons to be able to customize your calendar with. However, I use the smaller version just because I do prefer having less choice, which might sound a bit strange, but I just prefer having the 100 rather than the 2,000, just so then it doesn't get too overwhelming with trying to pick icons, and I tend to make all of my calendars look quite similar, so just having a few more icons is really helpful, but not too many. Also as well, and probably the main reason I use the smaller version of this mod is because if you have a really big icon mod installed, it does tend to lag out the calendar. Every time you try and add a holiday, it will freeze for a moment and it can make the process quite slow. And as a person who customizes their calendars quite a lot, that can get quite tedious, kind of annoying, so I tend to just stick with the smaller one now. When you install the icons into your game, this is what they will look like on the calendar. When you do create a new holiday, when picking an icon, you will see a bunch more to choose from, as you can see. I'm pretty sure with the original icons, it ends with the Harvest Fest icon, I'm pretty sure. But as you can see from that icon all the way down, there is so many more to choose from. There's lots of different variety that work well for lots of different holidays. We have animal ones, we have ones that work well for all the seasons as well. So as you can see, this one would work really well for the autumn time or Halloween. We have this flower here, which would work really well for spring, a snowboarding one for winter. There's just so many more to choose from, but not too many that you have to be scrolling through for a really long time. So highly recommend the more icons. They're super helpful to have. And I will show you how I use these on my calendar in today's video as well when I do show you my calendar format and my layout, so you will see that I've used a lot of the icons for different holidays. Next is something I showcased in my last calendar video, but if this is your first video that you are seeing of mine, then this may be the first time you are discovering these mods. So I had to add this in because if it wasn't for these files or mods, then my calendar would not be as customizable as I can make it. But these are the More Holiday Traditions by 𝒎𝒐𝒄 4 mods. Once again, the link will be in the description of the video for these. But this mod creator has made a bunch of holiday traditions that you can add into your game. And when you're creating a new holiday to add it to your calendar, the part where you pick your traditions, the ones that you add into your mods folder and then add into your game, they will be available to add as traditions for your Sims to complete. Here is the creator's website where you can download the holiday traditions, and when I added these into my game, I decided which ones I liked the look of the most and the ones that I knew I would definitely use, and then I decided to add just them ones into my game. I didn't want to add them all in just because I didn't want to clutter up the menu for the holiday making too much. But you can download them all if you want to. They're all individual downloads. You can download them on 𝒎𝒐𝒓𝒆 or 𝒎𝒐𝒓𝒄. So as we're taking a look through these, as you can see, there are a bunch that we don't have in game, and some of these I think definitely should be in game because they are just so good and fit so well for different holidays. But I honestly cannot recommend these enough. They're so helpful, and the ones that I have downloaded and put in my game I use all the time. I literally use them on every single calendar. They're so helpful. As I do feel like when it does come to the calendar in game and traditions, the calendar is slightly lacking with the traditions. I do feel like we don't really have that many. There could be more in game to make it more easier to create more holidays that feel more personal to you and your Sims, and I just feel like putting these ones in the game work really well, and you're able to create holidays in game that you can't already as well. And the final mod recommendation before I showcase my calendars to you guys is another mod which is by Little Miss Sam, and this is the 21-day calendar instead of 28 days. You can actually change the length of the seasons in game. In the game settings, it's in environment, and you can change the season length to either 7 days, which is the default one in a new save file, I'm pretty sure. So 7 days, 14 days, or it's usually 28 days. However, with this mod, it switches out the 28 days to 21 days. So instead of 4 weeks per season, it changes it to 3 weeks per season on the calendar. And I personally just prefer this because I do feel like 4 is just a bit too long, but I sometimes also feel like 14's too short. So I feel like 21 is a happy medium, and you can have longer seasons without them being too long. And I feel like recently I have been edging more towards having longer seasons just because it allows me to have slower gameplay and add more holidays to each season as well. So now that I have showed you the mods that I actually use for my calendar, I am going to show you some different calendar layout ideas that you could do, different formats that you can lay your calendars out in. I'm going to be showing you 3 in today's video. Not only is it different layout ideas on how you can lay out your calendar, but also I'm going to be sharing with you some holiday ideas you could add into your calendar and different holidays per season as well. So we are starting off with calendar number 1, and this calendar layout is my main calendar, I would probably say. This is the calendar that I play with the most. A lot of the time this will be the one that I will play with in my own personal gameplay because it allows me to have a slower gameplay style. I will occasionally use this one in Let's Plays, depending on how long I want the season to be for the Let's Play that I'm doing. So this is the 21 days calendar, and then I'm going to show you in a second a 14-day calendar, which is more of a condensed version of this calendar. So what I am going to do is I'm going to filter it to holidays, just so then we only see the holidays I've added to the calendar rather than all of the other events and things like that that do pop up. For the first calendar, I'm going to go in more depth, but then the other 2 are just going to be a bit more of an overview because this one I'm also going to be showing you the holidays, and the other ones have the same holidays on, just different layouts. So that's kind of how I'm going to be showing you in today's video. So we're going to start off in spring, and if you have watched my other calendar videos, you'll probably notice that a lot of my holidays are still quite similar, but I have added in a few more, and I've also changed the layout a bit more too. Usually in the middle of the first week of spring is the spring clean. I love to get my Sims to do the cleaning, do the laundry, and just appreciate their objects, sort of just clean the house. So that one I always add at the beginning. And then at the beginning of spring, I also add Love Day. Now, sometimes, occasionally, I'll add this in the winter because technically Valentine's Day is in the winter time because it's in February. However, for The Sims, I prefer to put it in spring just because I feel like it's a really spring themed holiday. So usually for Love Day, I will change the traditions up to decorate, go on date, and romantic spirit. And I'll always change the traditions as well depending on my sim. So if my sim isn't really into romance or they're not looking to get into a relationship, I may get them to watch romantic TV or order a pizza. So I'll just change the traditions depending on my sims. So instead of go on date, I could add eat pizza, and instead of romantic spirit, I could add watch romantic TV, and then they can just have a night in hanging out by themselves. So it really just does depend on my gameplay at the time, but the holidays sort of stay the same. One thing I have been adding into my calendars recently is the Sunday reset. I used to add in the self-care day, but I've sort of changed it to this. And instead, on most Sundays, I will add the Sunday reset. And this will just be a day where I'll get my sims to clean their house, do some cooking or baking, maybe do some exercise, and just get ready for the week ahead. Going into the second week of spring though, I have actually added some more holidays onto my calendar that I didn't have, one of them being Springfest. Now I added this one in originally, but now I actually have Springfest and Bunny Day on my calendar, whereas I used to only do one of them. But I wanted to add in Springfest because I thought it could kind of be like a spring festival where your sims sort of have a holiday more focused on flowers and gardening and things like that. So for these traditions, I added the flower bunny, give flowers and gardening. So this one would be great if your sim has a garden and they have been growing flowers at the beginning of the year, and you can now go ahead and pick them, put them into bouquets or give them as gifts. I also added the flower bunny on here as well because I used to add this on Bunny Day. However, I thought the flower bunny gives flowers, not eggs, so I thought that worked quite well for Springfest and gardening as well. This holiday is a bit of a different one, but I just wanted to add a couple of these sort of holidays into my calendar to show you how I also use the calendar in this way too. So I've actually added, for example here, Paige's due date. That is because my sim here, Paige, is actually currently pregnant with their first child. Their first child is on the way, and I like to add these holidays onto the calendar just so then I can keep track. So I'll add things such as due dates or wedding dates or anniversaries or birthdays. It's just really nice to add them to the calendar just so then you know they're coming up, and it just decorates the calendar a bit more. Moving in to the third week of my calendar, we have Mother's Day. I also have Father's Day in the summertime, and on Mother's Day you'll notice that I use the new traditions that I downloaded. So we have family dinner, gift a parent and hug a parent for your sims to show their love to their mothers. And then coming up to the end of spring, I add in a spring break, especially if I'm playing with longer seasons. I like my sims to have a little bit of time off work and school. So I've added in a 3-day spring break. We have spring break here, which is a day to decorate and bake. On the other side of this one, we have the other spring break as well. And then in the middle of that, we have Bunny Day. And this is basically Easter. So I've added egg hunt and family dinner to that one. So that is my spring part of my calendar. I hope you got some holiday ideas from that. Moving on down some more to my summer calendar, or the summer part of my calendar. The first holiday, again, I have a bit more of a one to just show you how I add in different holidays depending on my sims. So I have Alex's birthday here. So if I have aging on long or I have aging off, I usually like to add this, because if I have aging on long, I'll customize my sims aging and decide when I want to age them up, or same thing if I have it off. Again, you can customize these traditions. So I've added Alex's birthday, blow out candles, party spirit, and I'm going to get my sims to go bowling on that day. In the summertime on this calendar, I've also added National Pet Day. I always add this on my calendar. I don't tend to always put it in the summertime though. Sometimes I'll put it in the spring, the winter, autumn. It really just depends on where I like the look of it on the calendar and where I think it will fit in the best. So on this day, this will be a day where I'll get my sims to adopt a pet if they don't have one already and they do want to get one. I also will make this thankful spirit so they can be thankful for their pets in their life, or remembrance if they want to remember any pets that have passed. Moving on into the second week of summer, I have Father's Day, very similar to Mother's Day, but this one I've just changed the tradition out to travel. Then in the middle of the summertime, I add Summerfest. This gives it enough time for the summer weather to kick in, but it also just gives your sims a day off because they haven't had really any time off since spring break. So I add in Summerfest, and this is just a day to kick off the summer weather, have a barbecue, water fun, eat ice cream and party spirit. I like having this day in game a lot, it's a lot of fun. very closely followed by a day off in the midweek. We actually have the summer break beginning, and I do this on all of my calendars, even my smaller calendars. I will add summer break in, and this is basically just for my Sims to have a whole week off of work or school, and they can just have a break. They can go on vacation, or they can spend time together, do activities that they wouldn't have time for when they're just living the day-to-day mundane life. Sometimes, depending on what my Sims are up to, I will add traditions onto these, but I've kept it blank for this save just because I don't really know what my Sims are going to be up to. But I will add a whole week off in the summer. This will sort of replicate August, and then we go into the autumn time, which will replicate September time, and then I will have as the first holiday back to school. So this will be when your Sims go back to school, back to work, and I add traditions for this, such as read a book and take photos. This is something new that I've recently started doing. I can just imagine, you know, your Sims taking photos of their kids' first day going to elementary school, reading a book or doing their homework, something like that when they come home. Also in the first week of autumn, I have the Sim World Cup. Usually I will either add the Sim World Cup in, or I'll add Bonfire Night. In this save I added the Sim World Cup, which is a day focused on sports and playing soccer, party spirit, eating pizza, as you can see by the traditions. Or if I don't want to add this one in, I'll swap it out for Bonfire Night, which will have the traditions, which will be fireworks and fire. Maybe I'll add eat pizza or eat grilled cheese, something like that. But I usually add one of them into my autumn part of my calendar. Then in the second week of autumn, we have the Fall Festival. I always put this one before Spooky Day or 𝒐𝒑𝒆 now. And this is just a day to decorate and get ready for the spooky season, but also to go pumpkin picking or carve your pumpkin, depending on whatever you want to do, and also have a fire as well. And then we have a Spooky Day. This is basically a replica of Halloween, wear costumes, trick or treat, and spooky spirit. And then in the final week of autumn time, I have Harvest Fest break. Again, I give my Sims 3 days off of work and school, just like I do with spring break. They just get some days off to celebrate Harvest Fest. On the first day, I've added decorate, baking, and donate. And then we have Harvest Fest here, which I have grand meal, thankful spirit, and take photos. And then Harvest Fest break, the second one, I've added cleaning, sports TV, and volunteer. Then moving on to my winter part, the final part of the calendar. I've actually started to lay my calendar out differently when I play on 21 days for the winter time. But for the start of my winter, so week 1 of winter, I add the annual polar plunge. I add this before it gets too cold, before the lakes do freeze over, but it's getting cold, so your Sims can go swimming, do the polar bear plunge, and also drink tea to warm themselves up afterwards. Another example of how I use the calendar for different events depending on my Sim's life. My Sims are going to get married in the winter, so I've added the wedding here, just so then it is marked on the calendar and there is a date set for it. Now moving on to my Winterfest section, I kind of have my Sims celebrate this for over a week in game, and I've added it in the middle, so it will still be winter after Christmas, but I feel like that's actually quite realistic to real life. So the first one I've added, and on the second week of winter, I've added Winterfest Decorating Day. This one I actually showed off in my last calendar video. I recently had just started adding it then, but ever since then I've added it in every single one of my calendars. I love adding it in. But this is basically just a day for your Sims to put up the Winterfest decorations, so they can put up the tree, they can get into the festive spirit and attend a holiday ceremony as well. That way you can have the tree all the way up to Winterfest Eve, and this day will be when your Sims finish for work and school as well. And on Winterfest Eve they can bake, they can have festive spirit, watch a movie, and also I put Father Winter on Winterfest Eve as well, just because traditionally Father Christmas, Santa, he comes on Christmas Eve rather than Christmas Day, so that is why I put him on Winterfest Eve. And then we have Winterfest, the grand event. We have grand meal, festive spirit, and open presents for that one. Then we have Unboxing Day, which I've called Unboxing Day instead of Boxing Day, just to change the name up a bit. And for this day, I have cleaning, so just clean the house up a bit after Christmas, but then also decorate for New Year's, which is coming up, and also winter fun, so Sims can just enjoy the outdoors, wintry weather, and do lots of different winter activities. Then after Unboxing Day, we go straight to New Year's Eve, where I have Countdown to Midnight, Party Spirit, and fireworks. And then the day after, since we are still in the winter, I thought I'd add New Year's Day. And I have actually added make resolutions to New Year's Day rather than New Year's Eve, just to add another tradition to this day, another grand meal, and also play games as well. And then the final one on my calendar for winter is I just added Pancake Day. I thought it was a cute holiday to have in, and your Sims just cook and eat pancakes on that day. So that is a complete overview of my main calendar. This is the calendar that I tend to play with the most. It's the calendar that I can add the most holidays to, and I feel like it's just quite spread out. But again, having 21 days instead of 28 days, it's not so long, and I just really do prefer that. But I will typically add all of these to my calendar. Every time I create a new one, I'll switch up the traditions depending on my Sims' personalities or the lives that they're living. But that is an overview of my main calendar. But now I'm going to show you calendar number 2, which is going to be the 14-day calendar. And this one is going to be just more of a condensed layout of my calendar now. But I'm going to show you how I format it and lay it out to be able to still get in the holidays I want and still then be quite spread out and not too cluttered. But still a very full calendar. I hope that makes sense. The next two are also going to be a lot shorter explanations than the first one. I just wanted to fully showcase off the holidays and this main calendar first. But let's jump over to calendar 2 now. So this is a calendar number 2 that I'm going to be showcasing, and this is the 14-day calendar. As you can see, it does look very similar, but you'll notice that there are a few differences and there are a few less holidays on here. So this will be typically how I lay out my calendar if I'm playing with 14 days rather than 21 days. Calendar 2 and calendar 3 are going to be a lot shorter explanations. I'm not going to be going through all the holidays because I've already shown them to you. So these ones will be a bit shorter, but they're just a look at some different layout ideas. So as you can see, it is pretty much still the same, but I have just changed it up a bit. So in the spring, I've still kept, for example, Bunny Day, but I've made a spring break a bit shorter, so I've just added 2 days rather than 3. And I've also added Flower Bunny and Give Flowers to Bunny Day because I haven't added in Spring Fest, because I just don't like there to be too many holidays when there's less days per season. Same thing with the summertime. You'll notice it's a lot smaller too. I've still added in my summer break because I do love my summer break. But for example, I've actually added Parent Appreciation Day rather than Mother's Day and Father's Day, just so then I can have a day for both parents, which are the same traditions, just a more condensed down version. Again, no Summerfest, but that's because my Sims are going to have a week off in the 2 weeks of summer anyway, so I've taken that one out the calendar. Same thing applies to the autumn time, but here's a bit of a look on how you can lay out your autumn part of your calendar still. I still have back to school, but then I have a Spooky Day. In the first week of the autumn time, I've actually added National Pet Day into the autumn part of my calendar for this layout. And then once again with Harvest Fest, I've added Harvest Fest break, but just added 2 days rather than 3. And then with the winter time, I have gone back to the Winterfest time being at the end because it's just a lot easier to do it like that with 14 days. I've still added the annual polar plunge into week 1 of the calendar, and the wedding is still set on this day. But then we just go straight into Winterfest. I've still kept Winterfest decorating day, but then I've added Winterfest, Unboxing Day and New Year's Eve. So as you can see, there's quite a lot less holidays on a 14-day calendar, but the layout is still pretty similar. I've just condensed it down. So if you want to play with just 2 weeks, here's a bit of a look on how you can lay the calendar out instead, but still keep a similar vibe and similar feel to the holidays. So that is my 14-day calendar. I hope that that gives you a bit of inspiration on how you can condense down the one I just showed you. Now we're going to move on to the final calendar layout for today's video, and this one is a complete shift in the calendar, and it's something that I've thought about recently that I actually have never really seen anyone do before. So I'm going to hop over to that calendar now and I will show you the final one. The final calendar layout I am showing in today's video is another one in 14 days, just because I'm pretty sure when I did the calendar layout I kept it on 14 days. I don't know if I was meant to do 21, I'm not quite sure, but I'm going to be showing you it on 14 days for each season. And basically with this calendar I decided to make it so the calendar and the seasons replicate the southern hemisphere. All the time when I play with the calendar I play in the northern hemisphere, so Winterfest is in the winter, Spooky Day is in the autumn time, Love Day is in the spring, for example. However, I thought I have never really really seen people play the opposite way round. So we're looking at the southern hemisphere, so countries such as Australia, and the way that they celebrate their holidays and the seasons that they celebrate their holidays in. So I decided to make a calendar on that, and when I was making it, I really noticed how this could really change up your gameplay style so much and have your Sims have holidays that are just completely different to what you would usually play with. So I basically just flipped it round and added in the holidays into the seasons that they would be in if you were playing in the southern hemisphere. So for example, spring, we have Spooky Day in the springtime rather than the autumn time, and we also have the Sim World Cup as well, along with a short spring break. Because I didn't add Bunny Day because Easter isn't in the springtime in the southern hemisphere, it's in the autumn time, so that is a bit lower down on the calendar. But then if we go into the summertime, I still added Summerfest, but then we actually have Winterfest in the summertime. So I've made summer break basically Winterfest instead. I added Winterfest decorating days still, but then we have summer break for a couple of days, Winterfest Eve, Winterfest Unboxing Day and New Year's Eve. It then goes into the back to school season, since your Sims can have their summer break during Winterfest. I've then added Love Day in the autumn time along with Parent Appreciation Day, and then at the end of autumn we have Bunny Day and also Fall Break because it's in fall, but I wanted to add a Bunny Day spring break sort of thing in the fall instead. And then as for the winter time, since we don't have Winterfest, I added National Pet Day, Annual Winter Festival, since I thought that could be a fun one to add. So I added for that Winter Fun, Go Skating, Fire and Drink Tea. And then since we have Winterfest in the summertime instead, I decided to add Winter Break for 3 days so your Sims could just have a bit of a break in the winter time. But I thought this was just such a fun way to play with a calendar, and I may actually play like this in the future. I sort of prefer playing just traditional sort of gameplay where Winterfest is in the winter time and we have spring festivals and things like that. So I don't know if I'd play with this calendar myself a lot of the time, but I would like to give it a go at some point because I do feel like it would be a very, very fun way to play. So here is a bit of an idea and a look at some of the holidays you could add if you did want to do a calendar layout like this, and how you could lay it out if you wanted to play in more of a southern hemisphere seasons rather than in the northern hemisphere, and sort of how the traditional calendar is laid out originally. However, that is where I'm going to be wrapping up today's video. I really hope that you did enjoy it, and I really hope that this video has helped you come up with some more holiday ideas to add to your calendar, along with some mods that you could add to your calendar to customize it a lot more and just make it feel more alive, more fulfilled, and just be able to create a calendar that you want to create in the game for your families or your gameplay style. I also hope that the layouts have given you some inspiration as well on where you can put holidays in your calendar, or also changing up the seasons entirely and adding holidays in completely different spots. Once again, just a reminder, if you would like to download any of the mods that I did showcase in today's video, they will all be linked in the description of this video. But other than that, thank you all so much for watching today's video. I really hope you did enjoy it. I hope you all have a great rest of your day, and I will see you all again very soon. Bye!